Welcome back to the ultimate hub for all things Forrester, Logan, and Spencer. Today is a beautiful, thrilling day to dive into the most explosive, heart-stopping drama Los Angeles has ever witnessed. We have a seismic shift coming your way, so buckle up and get ready for the ultimate breakdown. The Mediterranean sun beat down on the pristine shores of Monte Carlo, but the chill in the air was absolute, bone-deep, and entirely catastrophic. The glittering waters of the Riviera served as the ultimate tragic backdrop for the total annihilation of a modern soap opera dynasty. Steffy Forrester Finnegan, pushed past the absolute limit of her endurance, reached her breaking point. The betrayal was too deep, the lies too heavy, and the presence of the ultimate villain too much to bear. In a moment of pure, unadulterated fury, Steffy ripped her wedding ring from her finger and hurled it violently at Finn Finnegan's chest. The metallic clink of the ring hitting the sand echoed like a gunshot, signaling the brutal, immediate death of their marriage. Finn collapsed inward, a man entirely shattered by the loss of his world. He fell to pieces right there on the Monaco beach, his desperate pleas drowning in the sound of the crashing waves. But the most shocking part of this cataclysmic marital implosion was not the ring, nor the tears, nor the devastating finality of Steffy's exit. The most shocking part was the woman watching from the shadows. Sheila, the grand architect of this misery, stood paralyzed behind the coastal foliage, witnessing the raw, visceral destruction of her own son. For decades, Sheila has been a force of nature, a hurricane of obsession, violence, and relentless manipulation. She has faked her own death, severed her own appendages, fired bullets into dark alleyways, and terrorized the Forrester family, all in the twisted, delusional pursuit of a happy family. She believed that if she just pushed hard enough, if she just eliminated enough obstacles, Finn would finally embrace her. But as she watched Finn drop to his knees, utterly broken by the loss of his wife, the delusion violently shattered. In a cinematic, slow-motion epiphany that changes the entire landscape of the bold and the beautiful, Sheila finally saw the horrifying truth. She saw the tears streaming down her son's face. She saw the agonizing pain ripping through his chest. And for the very first time in her twisted, chaotic life, Sheila realized that her love was not a gift. Her love was a weapon. Her selfish, suffocating, relentless obsession had not brought her closer to her son. It had completely and utterly destroyed his life. She had burned his sanctuary to the ground. Instead of stepping out of the shadows to comfort him, instead of using this vulnerable moment to sink her claws deeper into his fractured heart, Sheila did the unthinkable. She stepped back. The notorious villain, the woman who never surrenders, finally laid down her arms. She realized that her mere existence in Finn's orbit was a toxic poison, a lethal injection into the veins of his marriage. The only way to save him was to let him go. Without a word, without a scheme, and without a trace of her usual predatory smirk, Sheila turned her back on the Monaco beach. She fled the principality in absolute silence, carrying the crushing, suffocating weight of a mother who has just realized she is the monster under her child's bed. Back in Los Angeles, the atmosphere at the hospital was sterile, quiet, and completely devoid of the explosive drama that was about to unfold. The midnight hours stretched on as a hooded figure slipped silently through the corridors. Sheila infiltrated Finn's hospital office, but this was no ambush. She did not come to stalk, to manipulate, or to demand her rightful place in his life. She came to say goodbye. Standing in the dimly lit office, Sheila's eyes swept over the framed photographs on Finn's desk. Pictures of Steffy, radiant and smiling. Pictures of Hayes, the grandson she would never hold, never comfort, never watch grow up. Her hands trembled as she picked up a pen. The paper beneath her fingers became the canvas for the most heartbreaking, soul-crushing confession in daytime television history. Sheila wrote with a frantic, desperate honesty. She poured every ounce of her late, agonizing regret onto the page. She admitted the undeniable, brutal truth. She is the poison in his life. She confessed that her presence is a toxic cloud that suffocates his happiness, his marriage, and his future. In the letter, Sheila promised the one thing she had never been able to give him before: peace. She vowed to disappear from Los Angeles forever. She swore she would vanish into the ether, becoming nothing more than a ghost, so that Steffy could finally feel safe enough to return. This was the ultimate sacrifice. Sheila, a woman who is killed for love, was now committing emotional suicide to save her son. She left the letter resting squarely on his desk, a ticking time bomb of emotional devastation waiting for Finn's return. She demanded no forgiveness. She asked for no second chances. She only begged him to heal, to fix his family, and to forget the woman who gave him life but brought him nothing but pain. But Sheila's farewell tour was not over. Before she could vanish into the shadows of Los Angeles, there was one final, terrifying stop she had to make. The crashing waves of the Pacific Ocean pounded against the cliffs as Sheila approached the cliff house. Inside, Taylor Hayes was entirely alone, completely unaware that the devil herself was walking up to her front door. When the door creaked open, the tension in the room spiked to lethal levels. Taylor spun around, her heart hammering against her ribs. The history between these two women is written in blood. Bullets, brawls, and decades of psychological warfare hung in the air between them. Taylor braced herself for an attack. She expected a knife, a gun, a feral scream of vengeance. She expected the Sheila who had terrorized her family for a lifetime. But the woman standing in the doorway was not a predator. Sheila looked haggard, hollowed out, and completely broken. Her psychological state was incredibly unstable, teetering on the edge of total collapse. But there was absolutely zero aggression in her posture. She did not raise a weapon. She raised a white flag of total surrender. Taylor stood paralyzed, her breath catching in her throat as Sheila took a hesitant step forward. The silence in the cliff house was deafening, broken only by the sound of Sheila's ragged breathing. And then, the ultimate villain did the most shocking thing of all. She confessed. Tears streamed down Sheila's face as she unleashed a torrent of agonizing regret. She looked Taylor dead in the eye and admitted that she had destroyed her own son. She confessed that she had pushed Steffy and Finn to the absolute brink of divorce, that her selfish, manic obsession had shattered the only beautiful thing she had ever created. The words tore from her throat, raw and bleeding, as she laid her sins bare before the woman she had spent a lifetime torturing. Then came the plea. Sheila dropped her pride, dropped her ego, and begged Taylor for help. She wasn't asking for herself. She was asking for Finn. With a voice trembling with desperation, Sheila begged Taylor to use her skills as a world-class psychiatrist and her boundless love as Hayes' grandmother to save Finn from the wreckage. She pleaded with Taylor to guide him through the agonizing pain of this fallout, to help him piece his shattered heart back together. "I don't deserve to be his mother," Sheila whispered, the realization crushing the remaining air from her lungs. She admitted to Taylor that she is entirely unfit for the title of motherhood. She acknowledged that the only way to protect Hayes, the only way to ensure the innocent little boy has a future free of chaos, violence, and fear, is for her to walk away forever. Taylor was absolutely stunned. The world-renowned psychiatrist, a woman who has analyzed the darkest corners of the human mind, was completely speechless. She searched Sheila's eyes for a trick, for a manipulation, for the familiar glint of madness. But all she found was the devastating, hollow truth of a mother who had finally realized she is the villain of her child's story. But the shocks were not over. Before Sheila turned to leave, she addressed the elephant in the room. She looked at Taylor, the woman who had captured the heart of Deacon Sharp, the man Sheila had called her husband. There was no jealousy in her eyes, no vindictive rage, no promise of revenge. Instead, Sheila offered a quiet, heartbreaking blessing. She told Taylor that she hopes she and Deacon find the happiness that Sheila could never sustain. She blessed their romance, officially stepping aside and relinquishing her claim on the man she loved. It was a monumental, seismic shift in the fabric of the show. Sheila was letting go of everything. Her son, her grandson, her husband, her entire life in Los Angeles. She was stripping herself bare, leaving behind a legacy of pain, and stepping into the void. Without waiting for Taylor to respond, without asking for absolution or comfort, Sheila turned her back. She walked out of the Cliff House, the heavy wooden door clicking shut behind her. She walked out into the cool, unforgiving Los Angeles night, carrying the unbearable, suffocating pain of a rejected mother who had finally, tragically, recognized her own fatal mistakes. The fallout from this incredible, unprecedented sequence of events is going to be absolutely massive. What happens when Finn Finnegan returns from Monaco? His heart in pieces, only to find a goodbye letter from the biological mother who sparked this entire catastrophe. Will reading her heartbreaking confession give him the closure he needs, or will it send him spiraling further into guilt and despair? And what about Steffy Forrester Finnegan? When she learns that the ultimate threat to her family has voluntarily exiled herself, will she finally feel safe enough to return to the Cliff House? Will Sheila's ultimate sacrifice be enough to bridge the massive, gaping chasm that has torn her and Finn apart? Or is the damage already too deep, too permanent, to ever be repaired? Taylor Hayes is now holding the most explosive secret in town. She has witnessed the complete psychological surrender of her greatest enemy. Will she honor Sheila's final request and help Finn heal? Or will her protective instincts keep her on guard, waiting for the other shoe to drop? And how will Deacon Sharp react when he realizes the woman he once loved has vanished into the night, leaving him and Taylor to build a life on the ashes of her departure? This is the kind of high-stakes, emotionally charged drama that redefines a soap opera. The board has been completely wiped clean, and the pieces are scattered in the wind. Sheila has made her final move, and the ripple effects will tear through the Forrester, Logan, and Spencer families for months to come. Every relationship is being tested, every loyalty is being questioned, and the future of Los Angeles fashion royalty hangs entirely in the balance. Has Sheila truly left Los Angeles forever, or is this her most dangerous game yet? Drop your wildest theories below and subscribe for our next explosive B&B breakdown.